that,
Well, we would just store it here would be the idea,
Right.
unless you guys, want me
If you
to
don't
post it
capacity.
on the website.
Well, why don't we find out about capacity first?
Okay,
And
Sounds
let's go from there. Because we have the capacity, I'd like to see it posted.
okay, that sounds fine.
So you record all the meetings?
Yes.
And
Okay.
post.
Well, I mean,
keep it consistent.
it's been from the residents that they want to know what's going on, and I do understand that, if we keep canceling meetings, minutes don't get approved. And why wait 30 days to actually get them the information of what's going on in the different.
Okay, I'll check the capacity and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, let me know what you find out, like for the next meeting, I can tweak this, that, to be
Yeah.
more consistent.
I just try to get them the information as quick as possible.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay,
Authorization to engage with architecture firm to develop construction plans for schoolhouse renovation, public meeting room.
all right, so this, kind of building on the concept plans, so we are at a point where we need to have detailed construction plans developed for the schoolhouse so we can move forward. So I received 3 proposals for that. Kimmel Brogret, who's the company that's doing the concepts, they gave us an estimate of $70,000. Carnival Eustis out of Phoenixville gave a proposal of $34,500, and Luce Architects provided a proposal of $20,000. So I'd recommend Luce. They seemed very flexible in my conversations with them, willing to work with us, and they provided some good examples of work they've done on historic buildings.
Okay. Is there any concern why their rate, or their quote, or estimate, or whatever, is so much lower?
Well, I guess my concern is why Kimmel's is
So
so
much
high,
higher, yeah.
first of all. To be honest with you, I think Luce Architects is the most reasonable. I mean, it's an existing building, we're really not doing all that much. I mean, the $20,000 includes, helping us decide whether or not we want to bump out that back addition for, a little meeting room or not, which may or may not even be feasible because of the septic tank. So I think it's practical, given that this is not a huge job at all. So, so I think it makes sense.
Okay. Thoughts?
They all offer the same, because I see the 20, the lowest estimate here doesn't include design development, it's schematic.
Well,
Is it just the
they just kind of
semantics the wording?
reworded things, so I kind of tried to give you kind of the most consistent comparison.
What do you have for comments? You guys don't have anything else? Do we have any comments on this item? Okay. All right, so what do you guys think? Okay. Then I will make a motion to engage Luce Architects to provide design services and develop construction plans for the conversion of the schoolhouse to a meeting room as outlined in the proposal dated June 1, 2023, for an amount estimated to be approximately $20,000. Before we do that, this is all, this is acceptable for this value?
Professional.
It's
Professional
professional
services.
services.
Yeah, it's a professional
So
service.
You don't have to seal bid it, you can, but it's practical to get quotes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
This is the building right there.
Yeah.
At the entrance.
Okay. New business, 2023 Haunted Campground Hayride here at Green Lane Park.
So the county is requesting fire police for the fall haunted campground hayride on October 7th or rain date of October 8th from 5 to 9.
Okay. Comments? Okay, before we make the motion, is there any comments from the floor? Okay, thank you. Then I will make a motion to authorize the Upper Frederick Fire Company to provide vehicle traffic assistance for the Fall Haunted Campground Hayride at Green Lane Park on October 7th or rain date of October 8th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perk Crossing, authorization to move forward with ordering new pump and repair of backup pump.
So this is what we talked about earlier. We need to replace our booster pumps. The company that is going to help us with this, they have parts to rebuild one of them on the shelf for the most part, and, but not for the second one. So, and to order a new one, it's 18 to 20 weeks. So I've asked them to go ahead and start getting the parts for the rebuild so that we can get that going as quick as possible. And then upon your authorization, we'll have them order a new one for the second booster pump.
Okay. Questions, comments? Okay, before we make the motion, anybody comments?
I just have, you're the one that's in charge of that.
Yes.
What, impellers, are they cavitating? I mean, impellers don't usually, cavitation is a big,
No, they don't cavitate, they just wear out because they're starting stopping a lot. And, hard water and,
so it's wearing the impeller down.
yeah. Yeah, and they're just, almost like a brass material.
Bronzy grass.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments? Okay, I'm going to make a motion to authorize the purchase of a rebuild on one booster pump and purchase one new booster pump for Gator Pump and Equipment Company, the Perkiomen Crossing Water Plant, for a combined total of $11,601.60. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Frederick Living requests a 12-month extension to keep model home trailer on property.
So Frederick Living has had a model home trailer on their property for a few years now. They are asking to keep that for another year, so they're requesting an extension while they're still kind of trying to decide what they want to do moving forward.
Okay. I'm okay with this. What do you guys think?
It's not in anybody's view except for the people at the home. We haven't gotten any complaints from the
No,
people from
I
the home.
haven't heard any.
Okay. Comments from the floor? This item? Okay, thank you. I will make a motion to approve the extension request to allow the model home trailer to remain on the Frederick Living property until June 28, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Fire alarm ordinance update.
All right, so the fire company has expressed concern about false alarm calls, and it's been suggested, and they have been working with Ken about the possibility of updating the ordinance to establish a graduated fee schedule, so that, you know, when the first call comes in, maybe there's no fee, but then the second time it goes up, and then it kind of keeps going up if we get continued false alarms. So I know Ken has been working on the draft ordinance, and I just kind of want to get your feedback, make sure that you guys are okay with us moving in this direction, or if you have other ideas.
I think it's the perfect direction, pretty much that's what everybody's doing at this point. Anybody has an alarm system, they have to register with the township.
Okay.
And the fire company gets a copy of the registration with contacts and everything else. And yes, we do get false alarms, continuous for different houses or properties.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a distinction in the draft ordinance between residential
Control
properties
and
and those
commercial.
are substantially lower, and then
Yeah.
commercial properties are greater. I did speak with Jared, who's, has firsthand information on the problem it causes for the fire department, and the cost and expenditure run out there. Come back. He did express to me there's one principal commercial property that's the problem. So I guess I want to be careful not to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I don't know if you want to impose this on your township residents,
Well-
unless there's a need for it. If there's one problem property, you already have an ordinance that talks about bringing it to district justice court, they can pay about up to $1,000.
But it doesn't you don't automatically find somebody for a false alarm if it's a second or a third.
Right.
It would be up to the fire marshal to determine to find them or not, correct?
Someone would have to initiate the non-traffic citation, yes.
Right. So it would be the fire marshal.
But then doesn't it has to go to court?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So I
Well,
guess.
it doesn't have to go to court, they can pay it and not go to court, or they can
Well, the way the
claim it
ordinance,
and go to court.
the way the ordinance is currently designed, you would have to initiate, that enforcement action, just like any other code violation thing. So it would typically be a warning letter followed by then a repeat would be filed, non-traffic citation, and yeah, they could pay the fine, you're right. Or they could be not guilty, I guess, and have to have a proceeding.
Yes.
What's
This is more typical, in most municipalities you have
Mhm.
this, just automatically
So it's
kicks
gonna
in.
be in line with what other municipalities have.
Right.
Okay.
The only other difference was there was some talk that, could some of the proceeds from the fine go back to the fire department themselves? And I set it up that way, I think so, I didn't see anything that says you can't do that. It talks about the municipality can authorize, expenditures from public funds for the fire department, so this is just gonna be a redirecting of monies that comes in. And I think I set it up so that one half of the money that will come in will go to the fire department, and one half would be retained by the township for administrative costs.
Okay.
So if you got a $25 fine, the township would keep $12.50, they would get $12.50, it would become a bigger number if, for repeat violations. And I think it's all set within a 1 year period, so, 1 year you start the clock over again.
Okay. Do you want to take comments? Any comments?
I'm kind of up in the air on this a little bit, because I think we all know where we're talking about that has 20-some calls, and half of them are there. It's my understanding that they're not really doing anything to correct the problem. I think it's 2 alarm companies that, so when you come to, and I understand it's on fire too, but you always say, hey, don't ever hesitate to call 911 or the fire company. Now if you have a fire, it's kind of doing the same thing, it's dialing out, that it almost kind of like, I don't know if I want this because I don't want, because mine got hit with that last storm, so it's down. So you have different incidents that are causing the false alarms. So, hey, it's a pain in the butt getting it going, but then what's the consequence if you don't? So I'm up in the air on, and I don't know where this, how much the fine's gonna be. I know for state police and stuff, if it's multiple times, but.
Well, that's why I said,
Sure,
it's
yeah.
still the fire marshal would determine if, they're gonna fine them. It's not an automatic fine if you have 2 false alarms in a year.
You are correct though, right? You encourage people to, err on the caution side, call 911, have an alarm go off. It's better than not having an alarm go off and then there's a fire and a loss. But again, this is designed, the fines are relatively small. Again, 0 for first violation, 25 second, 50 third, and 100 fourth. I guess the fire marshal would have some discretion, not really supposed to, if this is written. But I suppose if the fire marshal determines that it was a legitimate false alarm, I guess, versus a,
Well, you get false alarms,
They're
like
alarms.
Frank says, you do get false alarms at times with power outages. And when the power comes back on, boom,
everybody's
we're sending an
sure.
alarm. So, you have to have flexibility. You can't be fining people because the power went out, and all of a sudden the power came back on and our alarm went off. Most of the time, people aren't even home, so they don't even know,
Right.
that the power went out until it comes back on, and now they get the call from their own alarm company saying, yeah, your alarm's going off. But at the same time, it's automatically being dispatched, so you need flexibility.
Other comments?
I could add some language maybe to do that.
Any other comments on this? So what are these, generally, are these electronic systems that are doing this? Or is it's not like people physically, actually making a phone call and
So it's all electronic, the hardwired or wireless system.
What you're looking at is the ones that are being automatically called in. If someone has an alarm going off in their house and they call 911, it's not a false alarm, really. they don't know what's going on. That's what the fire company is there for, to go out there and make sure that they're safe. So it's really not a false alarm.
Right.
You know, it's the automatic alarms that people have.
And they're set off by the straightening up, a bug, a spider crawls through the smoke detector, boom, it goes off.
Yes.
I mean, it's electronic, it's a device put in to protect and all stuff.
That's why I said, it needs to have flexibility in the rate, that it's not an automatic fine every time you go for, you know, after the first one, that you're automatically getting fined for the second, third, fourth. I mean, no system's fail proof.
I think you're absolutely right.
And that's why Tracy wanted it here for this discussion and for any input on, you know, where you want to land with this. I don't know the gravity of the problem. Again, if it's one culprit, commercial, you know, maybe I wouldn't do this, but if it's something that happens and this will cause people to be a little more conscientious, careful, or do their inspections, or have their battery backups, or whatever the case may be.
To maintain the
Then
systems.
we're saving the township money by not having false alarms and not wearing and tearing the fire department, so,
Right.
you know, that's the upside.
Yeah, well, I think.
So is it, I'm just curious, does it have a lot to do with failure to properly maintain the system?
Some
or
are.
Some,
Some
okay.
are, not all of
Okay.
them.
And I know Frank said the power outage is an issue, which, I mean, that seems beyond people's control. right?
Correct.
But,
The issues we're experiencing are because the system is without Wi-Fi service, or maintenance is changing batteries and they don't put it on test, or they put the wrong section on test and they go and change batteries, and it's human error. And the fact that the request has been made to the facility to fix some of these errors, and it's falling on deaf ears.
Jared, what's your rank there at the fire department?
President.
President. So you would know how many automatic fire alarms you guys get dispatched on?
I'd have to pull it up, I don't know off the top of my head.
Roughly, is it one location or is it more residential? You know, are you guys going and getting dispatched for many residential?
No, it's more I mean, there's the residential inside of the commercial facility that we're referencing, but it's still all, I would consider that all still commercial alarm, since it's all,
It's one location primarily.
yeah.
Right, and I'll be the bearer of all, it's down the street here. And
Yeah, right, yeah,
and it's two different, it's got a wired system and a wired,
yeah.
and it's two different companies, and it's been
Well,
going
I
on
mean,
for
they have
years.
3 different alarm companies there that don't talk, and the home doesn't maintain it.
Yeah.
So I go back to Ken, something like that, they're putting on everybody else.
And that's what I was gonna bring up.
Right.
Why don't we look at the problem and not broad spectrum this across the residents? And because if the residents have an issue, doesn't sound like there's many calls going to residents. I can't see a resident paying $25 because their fire alarm went off. Usually they're maintaining their homes.
Yeah.
If it's a faulty thing, then the fire marshal hands it. But if the majority of the problem is coming from one site, one facility, I look at it a couple different ways. One is, don't burden the residents, number one. Let's address the problem, which seems to be the bulk, because you're always gonna have these, these pop-up automatic fire alarms at a residence, something here or there. The majority sounds like it's a facility. But to go off and look at the damage that could be there, if you're saying that there's multiple alarm companies in there, you've addressed, the fire marshal has addressed it with the facility itself and said things need to get better here, need to clean it up because there's risk of liability for not only guys responding to the firehouse, taking a 90,000-pound vehicle down the road and risking, liability, cars, all the stuff that happens with that, for something that was either human error, there's, I don't wanna say negligence, that seems kind of large, that's like a lawyer term, right? Carelessness or just laziness on not how to properly change a system, and you're activating an emergency service. But if there's 3 or 2 systems there that aren't acting appropriately, what kind of harm's way are the residents and the tenants in this facility facing that we don't know about, right? So is there a
Well, I
way
mean,
to address
so-
it more so with a facility that has an issue that it sounds like the fire department, fire marshal has tried to address before?
Right, and
it's-
so you're
it's
not getting a
happening.
very good response from them, is that kind of what's
Correct.
happening? I mean, maybe what we do is go under our current standards and give them some milestones and say, look, if you don't achieve X, Y, and Z, you know, within a certain time period, next time it happens after that, we're gonna pursue the process that we have in place. Because I mean, we do have a process
You do have
in
an ordinance
place,
already, right?
so, I mean,
Talks about within 6 months.
It's my understanding that that big building down there has been purchased by another facility.
right,
So I don't know if things will change
right,
with the new ownership.
right, well, that's a good point.
My concern is not, you know, is several, 2 different systems. It's been addressed with maybe their management, their director, their CEO, whoever. It's fallen on deaf ears from what it sounds like. But there's a life safety hazard going on up there that maybe the system does fail because it's not working properly to begin with anyway, or it's working, but it's not where it should be, and there might potentially be a fire there.
So I'm gonna
and
ask
it
you
doesn't
this,
work.
if you don't mind putting your other hat on.
I can't do that right here,
Okay.
sorry.
That's fine.
Okay, so what do we think? We think maybe you reach out to these folks and see,
Yeah, so
what you
Jared,
do
maybe
before
we
we pursue
can
this?
talk and you can kind of give me an idea of what you've been doing and I think there's been some changes in management there. Is that right?
Yeah, they pretty much got rid of everybody.
All right, so it may take us a little time to figure out who's in charge now that they've merged with this other.
right?
No, I think there should be like full steam ahead on this issue.
No, I'm going on vacation tomorrow, Tom, I'm sorry.
Hey,
In a week and a half, full steam ahead.
we got
Right, but I mean, Ken, what are other avenues, you know, because it-
I guess it says, any firm, person, or corporation after 30 days written notice shall fail to, you know, or commit any other violation hereof. So I guess you'd have to wait till the next false alarm and then issue a 30-day letter to.
Well, I mean, we can
So
pull
you-
the history and just go, I mean,
I
we've
guess you would
had,
go off a prior,
yeah,
you know.
the latest prior one that was last month.
Okay, I can prepare the notice, or maybe you already have something. I don't know if this fire marshal would issue a code enforcement. I mean, it's an ordinance in the township.
Oh, I understand what they're talking about, I mean,
I agree with them, but I don't want to just see, you know,
It-
because there's one, you know, there's a major problem with one facility or
If
one
it's a new owner,
site.
Mhm.
a new owner, and you send
I don't
a letter, they
remember
might fix
exactly
it.
how our ordinance was
Start
written.
tagging
I haven't looked at it
everybody.
in a while.
Like,
Um,
sorry, go ahead.
Um, But yeah, I mean, if that satisfies what the fire marshal and, you know, the firehouse is looking for, you know, the township backing them up to try to get things fixed,
Mhm.
then we're fine.
So look, and that's the other thing, they've got, like you said, they've got new management. Why don't we reach out to the new management before we send them any,
Yeah, and I think we need to understand kind of what the history is and what they've been asked to do. So, I mean, in a letter, I think we need to really outline and say, look, here's the problem,